Hi, you're listening to Rudy Radio, powered by Rude Rangers Entertainment. I'm Terra Renee from African American Women in Cinema Organization, and this is Talk with Terra, a show that highlights fantastic filmmakers, artists, and entertainers and entrepreneurs from all walks of life. We're committed to introducing you to individuals, organizations, and projects of which you're not necessarily aware. And we do this with the intention of uplifting, empowering, and enlightening you. If you can, please share this episode on all of your social media. We'd also love it if you text your friends and ask them to tune in. Feel free to ask questions, make comments, and or share your thoughts at any point during the show. We promise to respond. So today we have an awesome guest, a strong supporter of the African American Women in Cinema organization. His name is Mr. Roger Maloney, who is the CEO of a fantastic media organization called Ufront Media. Mr. Maloney, welcome. How are you today?
Terra, I'm doing great. And congratulations to you. Look at you.
Well, thank you, Roger. See, this is what happens when you encourage people along the way.
That's right.
Inspire people along the way. You help them blossom. And thank you so much. And Roger, you've certainly been there for a long time. I can't even remember how we met. I can't even remember.
You know how we met, Terra? I can tell you the story. We met through a good friend of ours, because at the time I was working at the Board of Education. We met through a friend of ours that worked at the NAACP Bronx division.
Okay.
And you had came to my school and to speak to high school and middle school students about it was a anti-gun, anti-bullying program you were doing, and you were doing it and showing different filmmakers that had different films and stuff.
Yes, that's right. Wow.
You remember that?
I do now. Wow.
Right.
That's amazing.
And we still look the same, Terra. We still look the same.
Well, thank God for that. Thank God. I do remember that now. And the kids seemed like they were so moved and touched in a way, and for that type of programming. So right. You're right. Even back then, wow, inspiring next generation. Well, could you tell the audience, how did you get into media, period?
Well, I got into media because I was always fascinated with listening to Frankie Crocker from WBLS. I was listening to Hot 97 a lot. I was listening to a lot of local radio DJs like the Fox that rocks the box, Jack Fox, and these guys. And I was like, I'm dating myself, Terra. And I was determined in high school to this. You know what? I love media. I love doing the research about different media executives. So I actually, through the church I attended, was a friend of mine worked and known one of the hosts on 98.7 Kiss FM. That was a station before it became a sports. They switched over to All Talk Sports. His name was Sean Court. So my friend Jay Hewlin knew Sean Court, and I said, Jay, I need to talk to you, man, because I want to meet him. I want to intern on his show. He had the number one gospel music show on Kiss. Wow. And it all started because I wrote Pastor Bernard from Christian Culture Center a letter. Based upon a message he preached about asking, keep on asking. And I wrote all this stuff down in the letter. Pastor Bernard connected me to a friend of his that played in the band, Jay Hewlin, not knowing that Jay also worked at a classical radio station. I met with Jay, and then Jay introduced me to Sean Court, which got me the internship at Kiss FM.
Wow. Isn't that something?
It all came about from me just writing a letter to A.R. Bernard.
Wow.
Pastor A.R. Bernard from CCC, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing, Roger. That's amazing. So can you share with the audience, how did you start Ufront Media?
Well, I started Ufront Media based upon an idea I had from just looking at the media landscape And and you know what? Looking at the media landscape and getting laid off from the Board of Education does wonders for your imagination. When you get laid off, it opens your mind to a whole different type of possibilities, especially when they come and say, you know, there's going to be a lot of budget cuts due to the fact that I was first hired. I was there and working in the Board of Education as a youth counselor and SAPIS counselor for years. And, you know, when you're dabbling with, I was just doing a little blogging on the side, just dabbling, but not really committing to it. So when the layoff notice came, I was like, you know what would be a good idea? It's time for me to put all these skills to work. And the only person that I had to look myself in the mirror and say, you know what, you got to make it happen. And the reason why I said that is because the letter U represents no one is not going to believe you until you believe you. And plus, I was a big Batman comic book reader, so I was like, listen, if Bruce Wayne could do it in his little Batcave all by himself, I should do it too. So that's why I came up with the idea of using the letter U, connecting it to media, and I said, look, I'm just going to start writing blogs. And after writing blogs, I was like, you know what? I need to get into some of these media conferences. So Tara, I literally created my own. I created my own press pass, right? Wow. Because the idea was, I knew that if I got into advertising week and they print out press passes, I could take that same press pass and because they already print out your name, they already put your information in there, and I took that press pass to use it as my own press pass to get into other media events around the city. And I just started interviewing local tech entrepreneurs. I couldn't get to like the big people as of yet, but I used to just go into these conferences. And when you go into advertising week, was the first conferences I went to. Advertising week has a display of the new entrepreneurs on the floor level. Well, so I would go up to them and say, hey, with my Sony camcorder, and I would just interview them on the spot. And I'll get like 10 of these interviews. I'll post it up, write a blog about it, and post it up like every Friday. I would just started doing it.
Wow. Well, Roger, on that note, we have to take a quick break. We will be right back after these messages.
Hi, I'm Mario Confetti, international Formula One driver. I spent to get to Long Island Telecom before they closed. I need to get one of these fantastic deals that Long Island Telecom has, because you can't beat the price anywhere else. Oh, get away from that car. What are you doing? Freaking kids playing with the car out there. Anyway, I'm glad I got here. Wait, what do you mean you're closing? I got to come back tomorrow? What's your number? 631-833-9679? Oh, stop writing me a ticket.
Welcome back to Talk with Terra. I am Terra Renee from African American Women in Cinema, and today we're talking with Mr. Roger Maloney, who is the CEO of Ufront Media. And he was just telling us how the process started of how he actually created Ufront Media and what he was doing to make that happen. Mr. Roger, please continue. Very fascinating.
So after I started going to all these media conferences like Advertiser Week, Social Media Week, I got a chance to go to BookCon. I would interview the entrepreneurs on the floor, the new authors on the floor. So I was like, because I figured all the big channels got all the big celebrities, they got the big well-known people. So I went after the smaller people, and just since I had a passion for news, and I just basically, Tara, all I did was take all those internships and just put them to work. And I literally walking around my press pass and my camcorder, right? And then I would make sure every Friday I would post something up. It became to the point where people thought I had an organization of 100. They didn't know It was just me coming.
Wow. And you created your own press pass?
Yeah, I create my own press pass because every conference you go, you get a new press pass, so I can switch them out. I used to literally switch them out. Like if I went to your conference, I would get a press pass, and every new conference. So I had literally like 5 press passes already set. So if I got invited to like go anywhere, I would slip that thing on, and then it would be so fly because each press passes has all Google, Microsoft on them. So when I show up, they go, "Ooh, yo, you must be serious." But I had to do that, Tara, because I had to figure out a way to find a no way out of no way, just to get my name out there and get everybody understanding the type of interviews I did. So I just did a lot of one-on-one interviews. While everybody focused on the big stuff, I literally focused on just one-on-one interviews, post them up, share them, and just repeat and did it all over and over and over and over again.
You know, that's very interesting because a lot of people, they don't think that way, the way that they think, oh, let me go get the big people so I can get the big splash and then, you know, continue from there. But I always tell people it is power in the step by step, because in anything you do, it requires a track record. And a lot of people don't realize that. You know, I've seen so many people, they jump off the cliff, you know, want to jump into a big jumbo jet. But, you know, that's why we have a lot of one-hit wonders, because it's so much that comes with the territory once you arrive. So, you know, can you talk about some of the process? How did utilizing that method, how did it prepare you for where you are today?
So utilizing that method prepared me because you learn to it helps you focus more. And then at the same time, if people see you, and now mind you, I wasn't getting paid, Tara. This was not something I wasn't getting paid. Let's make that clear. I wasn't getting paid. This was just, it started out as a passion project, and I had my website up. And what happens is that people start seeing you become more consistent. So if they start seeing you become more consistent, and they start seeing you at certain places, and then people, when you have to meet someone, like I had the opportunity to interview Jeffrey Katzenberg, the former CEO of DreamWorks and former CEO of the platform Quibi. So when you interview people like those, you only have, my strategy was, I just want answer one of my questions. I would videotape that, Tara, and I would post that up, and people would go, because what happens is that, right, people look you up and say, who is this person, right? And they look you up and they see all these interviews, and then they'll start taking you seriously. Right. It's all about, you know, because sometimes I understand what you're saying. People want the one hit, and you know, they get frustrated because you're balancing doing this, working at a full-time job, mixing that with a family, and then you got to make sure you strategically keep the family good at the same time, set some time off to do your thing. So it's like it's a balance that I have to learn.
You want to share some of that balance? How did you learn that, and you know, how do you maintain that balance?
So how I maintain the balance was simple. It's something called having a wife, and when you have a wife, what a wife actually does to you, Terra, she will do one thing. She will say, okay, what is the purpose of you doing these interviews? I like what you're doing. 2, make sure you check your, make sure before you post anything, make sure your spelling is correct, because you're not going to have me looking crazy out in the street. Right. Number 3 is, just whatever you're getting ready to do, make sure you put it on the family calendar so we can adjust, and make sure you're back home. Make sure you're home by like either 5 or 6, so that you can just pick up who needs to be picked up, or if you gotta plan these things in advance notice so that we could do the tag team switch. And that's how I kept doing it.
That is wonderful. No, go ahead, please.
And another thing I wanted to add is a lot of people get into doing either you're writing blogs, you're doing films, but nobody actually takes the time out to like research. What I did was a lot of research on my library is filled with like different media executives. I'm a weirdo like that, Terra. I got like my library is filled with like, Robert Iger, from Disney, and I got like how Bill Gates did it. So if my crazy mind is if I read the bios of the books of these people, if I got a chance to meet them, I already know like a talking point. Because if you ever had somebody come up to you and then you ask them, so tell me what my company does. As some people ask you that as a trick question, and you have to have something to say. A case in point of that was when I went to there's a conference held every year by the Interactive Advertising Bureau, and they do something called the Digital New Fronts. So the Digital New Fronts was the conference where YouTube, Hulu, Wall Street Journal, Disney, and all the digital content creators and ad agencies got together, right? I got opportunity to handle press for that. And then and every year they talk they will have these meetings and conferences, and it's really huge talking about digital content, how different channels do their content. YouTube would have this at Madison Square Garden, BuzzFeed would have their different places. So I used to be like the only person of color in these conferences, literally walking around trying to interview people. And one time, Terra, in the press area, Ariana Huffington was literally standing behind me. Terra, have you ever smelled money? What money smelled like? And I was like, should I say something? So I go up. I just said hello. But she smelled like money, Terra. I was like, wow. But the thing about it, when you're in those press rooms, you have to act like you belong, because sometimes you feel intimidated about, wow, I'm in this place. But then my strategy was, if I could ask these people individual one question and keep it moving, people will respect that, versus you asking them a multitude of questions to get your interview, because you also got to think about their assistants and their managers and all those people who try to cut you off. But if you just saying, I just want to get one question, if you get that one question on video or that statement on video, and you can just post that up, it'll really help you out.
And that is so true. Well, we have to take another commercial break, but please don't forget to share this episode on social media. You're listening to Talk with Terra, powered by African American Woman in Cinema on Rudy Radio.
Hi, I'm Dan O'Shea, Executive Director for Maureen's Haven Homeless Outreach. It is our mission to support the homeless in our community. We provide an emergency winter shelter program, a day center, and support services to help the homeless in our community. With your help, we can continue to provide services so critically needed to the homeless in our community. Please visit www.maureen'shaven.org or call us at 631-727-683.
I am Madame Francois, and I'm introducing my new luxury skincare brand that's available to you at an attainable price. Discover my beauty secrets, luxurious, effective ingredients with proven results and a price tag that doesn't break the bank. Come indulge with me at lesmadamefrancois.com.
Welcome back to Talk with Terra. I am Terra Renee from African American Woman in Cinema, and today we're talking with the fabulous CEO of Ufront Media, Mr. Roger Maloney. Mr. Maloney was telling us some of the powerful moments that he had experienced in his ascension to creating Ufront Media. Mr. Roger, could you please tell some of the audience members who are inspired or aspiring to really create a media company, maybe something like what you've done, or maybe something different? Are there any points that you can give them that they can take away kind of mull over and put in there to do box?
Right. I think for me, I picked step one for me was picking the lane. I said, you know what, I'm just gonna be digital journalist, interviewer, and use that as a way to just like interview a whole bunch of people. There's some people that wants to create they want to create maybe they want to create a channel for themselves. They want to create like a Fubu like TV channel, or like our mutual friend who created Exposure Magazine TV. She created her own digital platform. You got to figure out what lane you want to be in. The second thing is, I think advice would be try not to switch lanes too much, and then people think you're like schizophrenic. Because when you meet people, we live in the age where people like YouTube you, they'll Instagram you, they'll check your LinkedIn, and then once they do that, Tara, that's why you nod your head. You did go, okay, he was a filmmaker, but now she's talking about makeup, and go, okay. And then what happens is that people get confused. Now these are all lessons that I have a council of mentors around me that literally like drill this in my head, because what happens to you when you first get started, you'll feel like your stuff is not moving and nobody's not looking at you. So we'll start looking at other people's stuff and figure out, well, I'm going to stop this and I'm going to do what this person does because that thing is moving, not realizing like you just need to stay in your lane. And one of the people that I try to like model myself is, I'm currently reading the book by Bob Iger about his ascension through the Disney company.
Yes.
And one of the points that Bob Iger mentioned was, he was talking about when he was an intern, he met the gentleman that run ABC Worldwide of Sports. And from that mentorship, he uses that same model today. Like he said, talent is everything, and we're going to create Worldwide of Sports as human stories with the sports feel to it. So if you look what Bob Iger took that and just ran with it, and that led to the purchase of Marvel, that led to the purchase of films. Then he bought Pixar with it, because everything Bob Iger did was like, let's focus on cultivating companies that had great talent, and then we're gonna make sure the stories are humanist or very real and stuff like that. So that's why Black Panther hit so well, because Bob, you don't see Bob like he knows his lane. So I looked at that, I was, oh, that's good stuff. So I was like, let me just stay in your lane. Pick your platform. Maybe you want to, maybe you're good at YouTube and you just want to focus on doing YouTube well, or maybe you're YouTube, Instagram, or you're good at TikTok. See, my daughters right now, they're TikTok crazy. Maybe you're not, don't go on TikTok if your stuff is not, you're not TikTok ready, because that's a whole nother realm of platforms. So pick your platform. Which platform are you going to build from? Maybe you're a blogger. If you're a filmmaker, I would say shoot your film. A lot of filmmakers now are actually doing, because a lot of filmmakers used to go through the film circuit a lot, the film festival circuit. Now, a lot of filmmakers are creating their own website, and then you can pay a premium price to download their films, and you can just get your data and your people to follow you, so that when you approach companies, you can say, well, according to data, we had like 10 million people download our film, and you made this amount of money from it. So, if you're a filmmaker, you should definitely think about that. I have another friend of mine. She has an amazing makeup company called N8 Beauty. She was always about, my friend Nakia, she was always about skincare. And she created her own skincare brand, like from organic natural materials. And now she released that, and she's all about beauty, makeup, and travel and stuff like that. So I think the best thing to do is pick your lane, pick your platform, and just stay with it. Because what happens is that you might get discouraged. I don't want to do this, but you got to stay with it. That's that Rocky. That's that Creed 2 Rocky conversation. When Creed told Adonis Creed, you got to stay in his face. Tara, I was in the movie theater like, yeah, Rocky.
No, you're on point, because I believe that if you are drawn to something, that could possibly very well be your calling. And it takes time for it to be embraced. And people don't realize that. I believe Dr. King had said something to that effect, where he said, first when a revolution is introduced, it's first attacked and then it's embraced. And basically, essentially, he was saying it's a process. And, unfortunately, Roger, we live in a society now, this era is about instant success, microwave success, do it your way. But it's not sustainable, because you have not gained the insight, the intel that you need to sustain once you get it. And that's very important. Now, a little side thing I wanted to kind of chat with you about, which you had brought up, which I thought was so funny, interesting, and intriguing at the same time, was the fact that you said, well, Terra, now we live in an era where people Google you. And it's true. And so I saw an interview of our new vice president and her husband. And so the question was asked, when you first met your husband, did you Google him? And so she was stunned that she was being asked that question. And her husband looked at her, because apparently they never talked about that. And she said, wow, I don't even know what made you ask that question, but I did Google him when we first met.
Yeah.
He was shocked.
Yeah, that's true.
So you're right. And you know what else I learned too, as it relates to that? I did not know, and I'm just as naive and wet behind the ears, they say, that even when you go for employment, people look at your social media handles to see
they
what
look at media handles and all that stuff. That's true. And that's why I remember when I worked in the Board of Education, I used to talk to a lot of students. So I was like, remember those selfie pictures when you was at that pool party? Put that on private. Just put that on private real quick, so that when they look you up, they can see, they could just keep the family photos up, all the pool party photos, put that on private until you think it's safe. You're right.
You're absolutely right. So what I want to ask you, Roger, what was actually the moment that you felt that you said, you know what, I am on the right track. I am fully encouraged now, and I will continue to do this for the long haul. What was
Terra,
that moment?
It comes in waves, because
okay.
Remember you're talking about the part where you look at it and you go, you're doing it, and then you get that pause moment for a minute just to like reevaluate to see what you're doing and stuff like that. I think for me it was like, you know what, you've been doing this for so long. You you got to figure out how to monetize it. If you haven't figured that out, I think you should just keep doing it until you two things will, because I figured out two things are gonna actually happen. The more you do it, people are gonna be like, yo, this person is literally not stopping what they're doing. So two things are gonna happen for you. I looked at people like Issa Rae. Remember, she had her YouTube. Yes. She did a YouTube series.
Oh.
And she put all her money. She put all the money into it, and then to the point it became like that global sensation. Then I have another. I thought her example kept me going. Then another gentleman by the name of JR Sports Brief. He has a YouTube channel. He literally created his own sports channel from the bedroom of his apartment in the Bronx. Now JR interviewed like every athlete around the world, and now he's on. I think he's doing I think CBS Sports or Fox Sports, and plus he's on an Atlanta radio station hosting. He did that. I think about another gentleman that I got the opportunity to interview. His name is David Karp, who was CEO of Tumblr. I brought him to a school I worked at and got a chance to interview him. Young kid, 15, coding. And I met him through another friend of mine named Fred Siebert, who who created Hanna-Barbera and did all the stuff at Nickelodeon. Now he got his own cartoon platform. Introduced me to David Cart. And now, a couple of years later, David Cart sold his company to, I think they sold it to was it Verizon? Not Verizon. No, Yahoo bought Tumblr for insane amount of money.
Wow.
That was insane. So you got to keep doing it. Look at people like Tiffany Haddish, who was homeless in her car, and Tyler Perry. People was laughing at Tyler Perry.
Yeah. And on that note, we have to take another commercial break, but please don't forget to share this episode on social media. You're listening to Talk with Terra, powered by African American Women in Cinema on Rudy Radio.
I am Madame Francois, and I'm introducing my new luxury skincare brand that's available to you at an attainable price. Discover my beauty secrets, luxurious, effective ingredients with proven results, and a price tag that doesn't break the bank. Come indulge with me at lesmadamefrancois.com.
Welcome back with Terra. I am Terra Renee from African American Women in Cinema. We're talking with Mr. Roger Maloney from Ufront Media. He is the CEO. We were talking about moments where folks like you who are inspired to just follow your passion, follow your calling, but there's a price to that so many are unaware that they have to pay. Mr. Roger, please continue with the examples that you cited, which was so important. Tiffany Haddish being homeless, Tyler Perry being homeless. I mean, please continue what you were saying.
When you look at, especially look at Tyler Perry, a lot of people were upset at him because he portrayed Medea, but the only reason why he portrayed Medea is because his actor was out that day. There was nobody else to play the part, so he played the part based upon his aunt and his mom grew up together. He combined both characters together, and while people were laughing at him, everybody that lives in the South loves all that stuff. They loved it to the point where when he put out his first movie, Lionsgate was like, I don't think nobody's going to show up. He was like, all right, all we want you to do is just distribute the film for me, but I keep the rights to everything. But Lionsgate, they didn't really think. They was like, all right, we'll distribute all your films. Now Tyler Perry saved all his money and built that. When I saw that massive studio that he built on the Confederate Army base, I was like, everybody was laughing at him, Tara. They were laughing at him for years. It was like, why is he wearing the dress? Why is he doing all that? And he was like, all right, I'm going to keep wearing the dress and do all this stuff until he built that army base. And Tara, when you see that, you go, wow. Like you've been doing the African American Women Cinema Festival for 20 years. A lot. That's a long time. We've seen festivals come and go, Tara. We've seen them, and you're like, wow. But you stay consistent with it. But even where people might look on your website, and my website was like, oh, your website's not updated. It's whack. You just, slowly by slowly, oh, that's what you think? Make little changes and you just keep on. You got to keep going. You got to keep going.
You do. How do you stay encouraged during those times, Roger, where it's just like, oh, Lord? How do you stay encouraged?
I think for me, it's a mixture of crying and motivating yourself all at the same time. Because you're like, I don't want to do this no more. This is dumb. Ain't nobody listening to looking at my stuff. And then your family and your I have like a Jedi council that I talk to, and they go, well, why don't you make improvements? Roger, improve your writing. Roger, improve your posts. Roger, improve your hashtags. Roger, improve. And once you start doing that, while you're working a full-time job and managing the family, it's eventually gonna come. It's gonna hit when you least expect it to hit. Because a lot of times growing up, everybody wanted to be Diddy. I wanted this at 24.
Yeah.
I really want this because you've seen Diddy do it. You'd be like, wait a minute, I can do that too.
Yeah.
And not you like 46, 47. You're like, wait a minute, what's happening? and you got to fight against all those thoughts and just keep doing. You keep doing your stuff. If you're a filmmaker, just keep doing it. If you're interested in building apps, just keep doing it. Code is gonna get you frustrated, and use one thing that kind of threw me off the path was I had to learn to stop watching like CNBC and Bloomberg and all that stuff, because you see all those CEOs say, well, I started my company in my basement at 14, and then I got my first round of funding at 30, and now I'm a millionaire, and I'm on Netflix telling you guys how to do it. For people of color, we have to figure out one. If you know that you make other platforms great, like what Swiss Beats and Timbaland did with the Versus thing. Instagram is a big company, but they made Versus hot. Like now there's a new app called Clubhouse. Black people make that hot. I think for us, we just got to figure out how do we create a product, own the product, so that we can, make our platforms and products and whatever we're doing hot as well. So I try to limit looking at other people's stuff and just try to be focused on honing like skills and taking like courses online and stuff like that. And you got to keep doing it.
Yeah, you do. And that is a very, very powerful and valid point, because every person have their own unique journey, and you really can't compare yourself to other people, because there's so many different dynamics, that play into this. And you have to be comfortable and okay with where you are. I was reading an article, it was called Late Bloomers. And these were people who, quote unquote, didn't get their break till very late in their age game. So did you know the guy who created Games of Thrones? The first time he finally got it on HBO, he was 63 years old.
Yeah, and his books have been out for years, and that was HBO's biggest series. I literally stayed up, Terra, one night and watched 7 episodes straight. I was like, yo. It was so good. But I researched who wrote it, and I was like, wow. Yeah. The same thing with J.K. Rowling. Homeless, write that stuff on, in her, and then she submitted a package to a publishing house, and the assistants was like, you gotta pick this up. And Tara, it's so crazy to read people's stories, and you're literally standing. We went to Universal Studios, and I was standing in Harry Potter world at Universal Studios, and this all came about from a lady just literally on her BlackBerry just typing away, and I'm standing at her in her amusement park funded by Universal. I was like, this is crazy.
Wow. See, yes, we as people of color, we definitely had extra things to overcome, but it is still possible. And through this, Roger, you've been saying consistently, and I hope that the audience picked this up. It is consistency. That is the power that will beat resistance, I believe, your persistence. And that's what made Dr. King, who we just celebrated his birthday, that's what made him so great. I mean, taking a beat down physically. We talked about taking a beat down emotionally and psychologically. and those are serious beatdowns. But to get all that and then physically get a beat down,
right,
and still continue to move, and that's who I look at sometimes when it just, in my mind, becomes unbearable. I look at people like him, you know, who had it on all fronts and still came out way, way on top. Who are the people who inspired you, Roger?
People that inspire me is, you know what, Tara? I've been really looking at I've been studying a lot. I've been, like I told you, I studied Bob Iger. I watched Regina King's movie One Night in Miami with with Sam Cooke, Muhammad Ali, and the conversation. Malcolm X was in the room too. Jim Brown. So when I looked at that, I was like, the one thing I first of all, I'm inspired by all of them. But what was so interesting with that film, the reason why I brought that film up was, can you imagine if Malcolm X had said to Sam Cooke, "Listen, bro, fund what I'm doing," and then you literally had, and then manage. I want you to we're going to create an agency to manage Muhammad Ali, and then we got Jim Brown here, who was interested in doing football and movies, and we'll fund him at the same time. And because Sam Cooke, he told Sam Cooke, yo, you had a business platform.
Yes.
And I was sitting there looking at that, and I was like, yo, that's the conversation. I think that's the next conversation we all need to have. So Tara, I've been literally rereading like my Malcolm X documentary bio.
Wow.
I just got the Barack Obama bio for Christmas and stuff like that. I like and one person that I really like is reading George Lucas's story, how he created Star Wars. I like to read people like how they created franchises and brand, like Stan Lee, how he created Marvel Comics. Stan Lee would have never created Marvel Comics if his wife didn't tell him, yo, why don't you give that one more shot?
Wow.
When I read that, I was like, and he created a Fantastic Four based upon his wife saying, give it one more shot. Because people back in the days hated comic books. They thought it was like on National Enquirer level. Now, comic book movies are like the biggest thing ever. So when I read stuff like that, I go, wow. And you got to mix that up with tears too, Terra, because I'd be like, I don't want to do it. And then go, you got to do it. You got it. So it's a mixture. It's part crying, part moving at the same time. You're like, because you be listening to those stories, you be like, were you happy all them years? No, you was in tears too.
It's true, you know. And one thing that I like to do, I like to tell it like it is, so people can understand. It is a process, and don't feel bad if you have like you called it, a pause moment, you know, because those pauses are necessary. Regroup, get energized, then get refocused and move forward. I believe that it will happen if you are determined and persistent, you know. And then I think that when you continue to walk that path, I think you start attracting, Roger, do you agree? Do you start attracting the resources? And resources come in many forms. Support from other people.
Yeah, they do.
Ideas, more ideas to build what you have. You know, more opportunities
or maybe ideas to like make it more focused. You know, maybe you got too much stuff going on. What else? I was just thinking about something. Maybe especially in those pause moments, you can like look at your stuff. Like I literally have people say, "Yo, Roger, your YouTube videos is whack. You don't got no intros. You don't have no outros." I'm like, okay, cool. And now I'm like, okay, let me try this. All right, let me just do this, and let me just do this. Maybe I'm doing too much stuff, so I have to like streamline it and cut it back. So what I decided to do with Ufront Media now is, I love showcasing other content creators of color and giving you reasons why I like them, because I like TV Guide so much. I remember TV Guide would tell you all the time what's hot, what's coming up. So while I'm doing the one-on-one interviews, in the midst of that, I will just like, here, check out this YouTube channel about by Married and Get Out of Debt. This is a couple on YouTube. All they do is talk about how their marriage, and they talk about how ways to get out of debt.
Wow.
Because there's a lot of Black content creators on YouTube, and they don't get a lot of exposure like their white counterparts do. So I love like showcasing different content creators and telling you need to watch this, just like TV guys. So that's what I developed Ufront Media to be, just one-on-one interviews. And here, check this out. This is what's cool on the web. And check this out. And this is what's cool on the web.
And that, that is so gratuitous and seed sowing as well, which are certainly several main ingredients that you need as you continue to move forward, because you do reap what you sow. What you give out, it comes back. And that's always what I tell people. Well, Mr. Roger, I don't know where the time went, but they're telling me that we have to go. Thank you so much for listening to Talk with Terra. I am Terra Renee from the African American Women in Cinema Organization. You can visit us at www.aawic.org. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Mr. Roger, would you like to give your information out so that our audience can follow you and like you?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm at Ufront Media 1125. And my website is www.ufrontmedia.com. You can check me out there as well. And also, I'm so excited to be a part of the African American Women in Series educational series coming up this Friday. I'm hosting that. So that's going to be good stuff. Get a chance to talk to different filmmakers and screenwriters and producers and stuff like that of color, and really showcasing how they do what they do and how you could do it too. So I'm excited about that, Tara. That's going to be amazing.
Yes, thank you so much. And we certainly look forward to that. And having you as a host is just awesome. It's the cream on the in our coffee. It's the icing on the cake. And Talk with Terra is made possible by Rude Rangers Entertainment. Our creative director is Rudy Breedy. Please don't forget to like and share this episode with as many people as possible. We sincerely appreciate you joining us today and wish you continued peace, blessings, and prosperity. See you next episode.